I've been looking back at the original PlayStation 1 trilogy of Crash Bandicoot, but as a bonus I want to talk about Naughty Dog's last Crash game, Crash Team Racing, a kart racer inspired by Diddy Kong Racing. Their final hurrah before moving on to brand new IPs and passing on the reins to Crash. Still to this day, one of my personal favourite kart races, if not the best one that I've played, accompanied by its remake, Nitro-Fueled. But does it still hold up? What made it so great? Was it true that Naughty Dog set it up to fail? Let's find out as we look back at Crash Team Racing. Although Crash Bandicoot Warped was the last platformer Naughty Dog would make before making Jak and Daxter, they had already started after the production of Crash 2 on a kart racer that would end up being Crash Team Racing. Since the team wanted to move on from Crash and felt like they exhausted all they could do, CTR started as just a kart racer with no Crash characters, but changed to convince Sony and Universal to approve the project. Taking inspiration from Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing, so much so they recreated the stage from that game in order to test the PS1 capabilities with a course of that magnitude. The game was a massive success, even critics going as far as to say it may have done it better than Mario Kart at the time. The fact that CTR was the devs' first kart racer and they managed to nail it first try has got to be an incredible achievement.
CTR is interesting to me in terms of development because when I look back and I think how, Naughty Dog wanted to move on from Crash, right? They wanted to create a different kart racer that wasn't necessarily related to Crash, but had no choice since Sony and Universal were like, you have to do it, you have to do something Crash related, so they did. And then they went even further and were like, you know what, we're going to create a villain that will just literally, no pun intended, crash the franchise. Like literally it's like, no one want anything to do with Crash after this. Except no, like if anything, people liked the villain and the game was incredibly successful. So it's really interesting to me, how they, in a way, they were kind of trying to sabotage, sort of, maybe not so much the game itself, but like sabotage the franchise so they can just be like, oh well, look, we don't need to do Crash anymore. But it just backfired completely, and to this day people still absolutely love Crash Team Racing, including me. I actually don't remember too much about my first experience, but I do believe I played a demo, but I don't recall it being from a demo disc, so it could have been one of those cheat codes that you could put in one of the Spyro games. I think maybe like Year of the Dragon or something, and that would get you like a demo to play CTR, because they did a lot of that, right, with Insomniac and Naughty Dog back in the day, because their offices were literally next door to each other. They would literally test each other's games, bounce ideas, and even put little Easter egg cheat codes where it's like, oh hey, you put a cheat code in Crash Bandicoot Warped and you can like play like Spyro, I think like Spyro 1 or Spyro 2 or whatever, and vice versa. But what I do remember specifically in my head is I played through Rouge Tubes and Sewer Speedway, and that's kind of like where most of my memory comes from. But there was also one more level that I know for sure was a demo, because I couldn't do any other track, and I see Papa Papu and I was like, oh, can I go up against Papa Papu? And it was Papa Papu's Pyramid. So I played a lot of Papa Papu's Pyramid, and Papu's Pyramid I felt like can be, quite a tricky track, especially if it's like the first track you play, especially if you play a demo, and it's got like a lot of tight turns where you go around, like literally kind of like going around a pyramid, literally. So it can be a tricky first track, but I remember enjoying it. I remember enjoying the visuals. I remember enjoying the course itself. And I was just thinking, Apu Papu's back? That's really cool. Like, really cool. I can get behind that. Since I didn't have anything Nintendo, Crash Team Racing was the first kart racer that I ever played. I played other games, like, I think there was like a Muppets racing game on the PS1 that's kind of like a kart racer. It was a cute little thing, but I never actually experienced Mario Kart until much later. I was aware of it, but like I say, I didn't have anything Nintendo, I only had Sega and Sony. Now, I had played other like races, like arcade races, like Sega arcade races. I played literal arcade races at an arcade, but I've never actually experienced the kart race until CTR. So I was already just, here you go, here's a skill-based kart racer. But I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I think it deserves a place amongst the greatest games within the Crash Bandicoot franchise. The only other thing I do remember would probably be the PlayStation 1 multi-tap, where I tried to get my friends to play with that. Does anyone remember that? Or am I just old? Yep, I had the PlayStation 1 multi-tap. I don't have it anymore, sadly, because I did not treat my stuff well when I was little. But, dude, I bought that thing, and it just didn't work. Half the time it never worked. Me and my friends were just finicking, but trying to get it to work, trying to get like 4-player to work, and my god, that was a pain in the ass. But when we did get it to work, it was a lot of fun.
Let's go over the game's story and the character who they thought would end the Crash series for good. An alien by the name of nitrous oxide challenges the Crash characters to race for the fate of their planet. Known to be the fastest in the galaxy he is from, he threatens to turn the planet into a concrete parking lot if he wins. So, all of the Crash characters, the good, the bad, and even Polar and Pura all get in on the action, looking to take home the glory and save their planet. That's it. I mean, it's a kart racer. Does it need to have a deep and complicated story? Probably not. You go through adventure mode, pick a character that will be your race for the entire game, and you race through 4 courses per area, finishing with a boss. You get rewarded with a key that takes you to the next set of races that will ultimately lead you to nitrous oxide.
An alien! That'll do it. It's too outrageous for the Crash Bandicoot series. That'll end the franchise. I do find that quite funny, you know. Don't get me wrong. Oxide, I think, is hated for different reasons. Like, I don't like him because it's a pain in the butt. Because this guy is a sore loser and a cheater. But he, to be honest, fits because a lot of these characters can be very goofy and silly. Like I say, very cartoon-esque. And that's exactly what he is. He's obnoxious, right? He's overconfident. He's a sore loser, right? And he's just a goofy character overall. Even though it's like, oh, you know, he's going to do something bad, you still can't help but feel like, you know, he'd more than likely shoot a missile and shoot himself. You know what I mean? It comes across as that very sort of Looney Tunes-esque, where it's kind of like, nah, man, this guy fits right in. Naughty Dog clearly didn't consider the success, of a villain of Oxide. He fit perfectly as a villain as far as I'm concerned. Now, of course, in the adventure mode, you would choose one kart racer, and that would be it, and you'd be stuck with that kart racer. But I would admit, the remake, Nitro-Fueled, has kind of spoiled me now, because when I was playing that, you have the option to either go with the classic, where it's just, you're stuck with that one kart racer. But I went with the new mode, because I wanted to try it out, where you can just swap to any character. And it doesn't really affect the story or anything, because your race doesn't really say anything. Your race is just kind of there, so you can just swap to anyone at any point. And I kind of prefer it, if I'm being absolutely honest. You know, I really do enjoy the intro of the game, the montage of characters, seeing, you know, everyone doing what they're doing to get their vehicles ready. You know, you're like Polar's trying to read a book and not reading it well. And I think in the Nitro-Fueled version, it might be upside down and like Penta like flips it the other way or something. And then you just got Crash. It's just chilling, it's just sleeping. You know, just as God intended.
Let's go over adventure mode before covering controls and the other modes. Adventure mode is of course your main single player mode. Once you've picked your racer, you are good to start. Each racer in all mode has a type, speed, acceleration, balance, and turning. So even if you want to play as, say, Pura, you are still stuck with that character having low speed, but has really great turning. Once again, Nitro-fueled took that away and made it so any character can be any type you want. I usually go with balanced, at least for the adventure mode, so that's either Crash or Cortex. Throughout the mode, one of the masks will guide you, give you tips on races, basic tutorial stuff really. Drive around the map and find the track portal available. You have to race in the order they want you. This is a first place type of situation. You have to win the trophy to proceed. I only say this because some racing games allow you to continue in third or second. You do get a cool victory animation when you win, while second and third get a losing animation as well. Proceed through each race and you get challenged by that area's boss. You've got Ripperoo, Papu Papu, Komodo Joe, Pinstripe, and of course Oxide. All of them have a gimmick and tend to be faster than you at the get-go, constantly throwing things at you, unlike grabbing an item in a box. They can be pretty challenging. In fact, I would say CTR's adventure mode is still to this day one of the more challenging modes in a kart racer.
This is why I prefer generally Crash Team Racing compared to Mario Kart, because it is just more of a skilled based game. Now, of course you can use items, but they don't matter as much compared to, say, Mario Kart, where Mario Kart feels like it's a bit more of a skill and items thing. And you know, people will even say that sometimes, depending on the game that you're playing, you can just kind of like, hold on to a powerful item and then like try and skill your way up to, say, fourth or third, and then like, you know, cheese to first place. You get like massive amounts of boost items, and you just, let me just in the last lap, you know, skip this bit, skip this bit, skip this bit. In this game, you can't really do that. It's definitely more so like, hey man, you need to get used to that power slide and get good at it. And then if you get good at it and you can keep holding the boost and using the boost pads, then right, that's when you start to discern like the skilled players versus the not so skilled players. That's not to say that casual players can't play this, but if you're someone who's just so used to Mario Kart, obviously that skill gap in CTR might put you off. But if you're also thinking, Mario Kart's a little bit too easy, a little bit too reliant on items, you know, I just don't want to get sniped constantly, you know, for mostly playing, so we say, you know, good-ish, right? But, you know, it's a more friendly type of game where, you know, anyone could win, really. CTR is definitely that game where it's like, it's going to push you, right? It's going to push you to learn. Some people are going to like that, some people aren't. But I personally enjoy it. That's one of the reasons why I love CTR so much. You know, if you ever want to get that sense of speed, at least in a kart racer, it's got to be Crash Team Racing. It's either Crash Team Racing on the original PlayStation 1, or it's Crash Team Racing Nitro-fueled. Both games absolutely nail that factor. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I used to practice so much that when I went online, I was able to lap people, and I've never done that before. I was like, whoa, and I was like, all this practicing I've been doing, all this labbing I've been doing to nail the power slide, but also to keep the speed constantly, as much as I can, keep the speed and never lose it. Before I knew it, everyone was in the dust, and I was like, wait, am I lapping people? Crazy stuff. Absolutely. It is an incredible feeling when you manage to do that in this game.
When it comes to racing games of any sort, it is essential to nail the feeling of the vehicle you are controlling. Naughty Dog thankfully did so much research on Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing to give us one of the best controlling kart races. Not only that, since they wanted to stand out from Mario Kart, they made sure to give you more of a sense of speed. Just like a lot of kart races, you can drift, or power slide as they call it, and if you time correctly, you get a boost. Now if you do this 3 times in a row, you get a bigger boost. But To take it even further, you would continuously power slide to chain boosts, on top of boost pads on the map, so you never lose your boost. This is where the skill heavy part of the game kicks in, for those who want more of a challenge in their kart racer and get that real sense of speed. CTR will push you to improve and get better at power slides. And if you can't turn enough, you even have a quick turn you can do with the brake/reverse button. Soon enough, players were realizing there was such tech here where you can just U-turn without losing much speed. Not to mention, if you hop off ledges, you also get boosts. Of course, there's still the kart types that does affect stats a bit, but everyone in this game can do this. However, you don't need to be doing all of this just to beat the story mode. However, mastering the power slide will help you immensely.
Stop! If you are enjoying the video, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the video.
Every kart racer tends to have items, and if anyone has played Mario Kart, you can compare some of these, but not all. Bombs are the closest thing to a green shell, but doesn't bounce around, you just aim forward or backwards and it explodes. Missiles are like red shells. You have hazards like potions that slow you down, TNTs that if you don't hop will explode, boost item, a mask which is invincibility, and then you have your blue shell, the warp orb. The warp orb can hit other racers along the way if you are in its line of sight. A good selection of items, and they are all crash related. You can even improve items or change them completely. Wumpa fruit are your coins. Get 10 and your top speed increases, but it also gives you boosted items. Missiles are more accurate to lock on, masks last longer, TNTs now become nitros, green potions become red potions, and you really don't want to get hit by them. It's a pretty grueling fate being slowed down so much. You always want to have max Wumpa fruit to have the better items. Editor J here, I just had to interrupt this because I completely forgot 2 items in this game. One, because I don't really see it too often these days, but one of them is the clock. Now, the clock, in, I guess, Mario Kart terms, if anybody knows, is kind of like your lightning. What Lightning Bolt does in Mario Kart is it basically shrinks everyone, like all the other races apart from you, like shrinks them, and you basically lose all your items that you're carrying and makes everyone slow temporarily. This is sort of similar. You don't lose your item, I don't think, if I remember correctly. I think what happens is it gets shuffled, but if you have an item, it gets like shuffled. But what it essentially does is it makes all the racers spin out of control for a bit, and then they're just like really slow. Like they're trying to drive along, and they're like, you know, you think there's something wrong with the car, you know, like there might be something wrong with the engine, so they're just like temporarily slow. So it's basically the closest thing to a lightning. The lightning is still, you know, the more powerful item in Mario Kart, but this is like the equivalent of that, where everyone spins out of control. But this is the sort of thing you only see if you're like dead last, and even then I never see it too often. The NPCs can get it as well, so that is something to note. The other one, which is a really good one, this is a first, second to third place item, and that is the shield. The shield protects you from, well, as you could kind of imagine, anything, and that includes the warp orb. So if you're in first place and someone throws a blue shell warp orb, and you've got a shield, you're protected. But the regular shield doesn't last very long. So if you want a permanent shield, you need to get 10 Wumpa fruit, and then you get like the blue shield, and that's permanent. The other thing is you can throw your shield as a projectile. Yeah, that's something a little bit unique, I suppose, is that not only is your shield, well, a shield, it's a projectile. Yeah, so if someone gets in front of you, say, you can throw it, but it does act like a bomb, so there's no like reticle or target, you just have to hope you hit. One thing to note about the shield is if you have another item in the wings, because it's a projectile, you have to throw the shield or wait for the shield to, you know, go away or you know, wait until you get hit or something. If you're like in first place or something, or first or second, and you've got like the permanent shield, then you've got two options. Just keep the shield and you can't use any items, or you ditch the shield if you want to use another item. So that is something you have to throw the shield away if you want to use another item, but it is a pretty good item to have in first place. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Let's get back to the video. I think some of these items aren't as strong as, say, Mario Kart. Bombs are hard to hit people with unless they are close. Missiles don't always hit despite locking on, or if you are the computer, then they probably hit you every time. This is another reason why CTR feels more about skill when the items don't seem to matter as much. The hardest part is when you go up against the boss characters as they keep chucking items at you, like dropping TNTs or potions.
Crash Team Racing will always be that game with a steep learning curve. If you can get past it, great, there's some satisfaction there, but if you can't, or you know, if it's too difficult for you, casual fans, then obviously that is going to put people off. It's not going to be for everyone. You can still casually play with friends and family, but the adventure mode is tough, man. It is really difficult. And I feel like, to be honest, I personally haven't played like loads of kart races, but I don't think I've ever played a sort of racing game, at least of the more kart racer variety, that it's kind of felt like it's given me that sense of speed. I was kind of hoping at the time of the recording the new Sonic Racing Cross World might give me that, but it sort of does with like the CCs and stuff, like the higher sort of, you know, everyone's like sort of top speed, but not in the same way that CTR is, where it's like, you know, you literally just have your type of races, and then it's like, hey man, if you're really skilled, just power slide to victory. And anyone would admit, you know, maybe not everybody wants to power slide to victory. That is solely what CTR really is for the most part. It is power slide to victory. But the game to me just pulls that off so well. There is such enjoyment in doing that. But as I say, you're either going to be able to bear the things like the adventure mode being quite difficult, or it's going to be too much for people and that's going to put them off. And I think that's absolutely fine. CTR is definitely not for everyone.
Oxide is one of the cheapest enemies to go up against in a kart racer. He straight up cheats by starting before the countdown even begins. Then he throws all the items at you. Nitros, bombs, TNTs, green and red potions, all littered over the Oxide station course. As you'd expected, he's the fastest racer in the entire game. You have an uphill race here, making the other bosses easy in comparison. This is the type of opponent that definitely causes rage quits. If you somehow beat the odds and win, he's even a sore loser and refuses to accept you as the best racer. But he will spare the planet. Just like the previous Crash games, we've got more things to collect. Relics make a return. We have to go through all races again and obtain a relic in the time trial. As before, in Warts we have time boxes that are essential in getting a good time. However, if you break all boxes, you get an extra minus 10 seconds off your end time. Not needed to get the Sapphire, but helps for Gold and Platinum. These will really get you to master these tracks. Look out for potential shortcuts and cutting corners to optimize your time. The other collectible are these CTR tokens. When you enter the race, the letters C, T and R will be placed throughout. You have to collect them and win first place to get the token. Races are pretty much the same otherwise, you just have to find all the letters that could be in shortcuts or even completely off-road. The tricky part is finding a good way of getting them without slowing down too much so you don't throw the race. Like Mario Kart, CTR has its own battle mode, and in the adventure mode you drive around these arenas collecting crystals before time is up, avoiding nitro, TNTs, collecting boosts or bombs to help, but since they are like boxes or circles, they put crystals in corners and such. I actually never liked these personally. I find these to be quite difficult and just not as fun. Even to this day, I'm actually not a fan of going back to these. Sadly, if you want the true ending, it is required as you get a CTR token as a reward. Once you have all CTR tokens, it unlocks the Gem Grand Prix. Race through 4 courses in the Gems Cup against the boss races. Just wanted to correct myself real quick, you don't actually go up against the boss characters unless it's the purple Gem Cup. The other Gem Cups you actually go up against the regular racers. Just thought I'd just add that in there. And get the most points to be awarded with, you guessed it, a coloured gem. Luckily the boss races are just normal races this time, and you don't need to get first place every race, but you do need to make top 3 each time. So it's going through all courses again in a 4-cup race to get all coloured gems, and that unlocks the final tracks in the game for the last relic time trials. There are no CTR tokens or normal races here, just a relic to get in Slide Coliseum and Turbo Track. And they are exactly what they sound. You will be power sliding all over the place in this winding coliseum, got to get your U-turns in there as well. And then there's Turbo Track, just constant boost pads, and then it does have like one bend where you do need a bit of a U-turn. When you have all relics, you can rematch Oxide and beat the game. Nothing really new happens, he just kinda leaves and that's it. But a decent adventure mode to this day. We haven't talked about the other modes yet either, or even the tracks themselves. Here are the list of modes. Adventure mode, time trial mode, which is a bit like the relic trials but it's just pure racing with no boxes. Arcade mode, which is your cups, your Grand Prix. Versus mode is your multiplayer, which is up to 4 players. Battle mode, like I mentioned before, is very similar to Mario Kart's battle mode. Hit your friends, racing around an arena. High score is just there so you can look at your time trial times, and if you beat the adventure mode 100%, you unlock the scrapbook, giving you an insight into the game, such as concept art. This is the full roster of characters in the game. As you beat the adventure mode, you can unlock the boss characters. By defeating the Entropy time trial ghost, you unlock Entropy. Fake Crash is also in this game. He can be unlocked by completing adventure mode. Penta Penguin is only unlocked via a cheat code, as Penta was planned for the game but wasn't finished. You can tell because in earlier revisions, Penta would be voiced by one of the devs as a placeholder. Also, the PAL version had Penta's stats at max. Of course, you can also unlock every character with cheats in case you want to just have the roster unlocked immediately. I'd say they covered a good amount of Crash characters. Now, Komodo Mo was meant to be with his brother Joe, but sadly also didn't make it. There are a total of 18 tracks in the game, which I'd say is quite a lot. I'd also say a good variety, inspired by the world of Crash, with some tracks based on the characters, like Crash Cove, a beach-like track, Cortex Castle, navigating tight turns in a medieval castle, Papu's Pyramid, inspired by Papu's village with all the tiki ruins. For a PS1 game, even to this day, visuals are pretty good. You go through snow tracks, a canyon, chemical labs, a park. The adventure mode handles the tracks you go through with how advanced they feel. If there's a lot of hard turns, it will most likely be later track. If it's something a bit more straightforward, like say Coco Park, it's earlier in the adventure mode. Determines how technical a track might be. CTR doesn't really have like a Rainbow Road equivalent, but I would say there's some memorable courses, like how Oxide Station, based in space, has anti-gravity sections where you can hop really high. And I still find these to be really enjoyable, and there's something for everyone here. Crash Team Racing at the time was such a marvel in how it rivaled Mario Kart from a team who had never done a kart racer before. It is still to this day a beloved kart racer amongst Crash fans. I would say it absolutely holds up and is a must play for kart racers, even if you don't know much about Crash. Of course, the modern way to play this is to experience the remake that adds a ton of content and characters. Although the kart feel in Nitro-fueled is very good, there is a difference in controls compared to the original, so that's just something worth noting. CTR is still a skill-based game which may put off some players with its difficult adventure mode, but it's still a ton of fun with family and friends. It's thanks to Naughty Dog we have the orange marsupial known as Crash Bandicoot. We've got some of, if not the best of the series on the PlayStation 1. Crash Team Racing may not be a platformer, but it is still a worthy entry into the Crash series as a fun spin-off game. The final entry from Naughty Dog before they say goodbye to Crash for good. This retrospective has shown me that all of these games still hold up as a classic linear 3D platformer and a timeless kart racer. A blast to go back and play through no matter how many times you do. What are your thoughts on CTR? And if you have made it this far, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed my retrospective on the PS1 Crash Bandicoot games. If you would like more in the future, then feel free to let your voices be heard in the comments. But don't worry, if you are hungry right now for more Crash, then why not check out the video on screen. Thanks for watching.